Hi, I'm Lawson, and for nearly the last 10 years, I made fishing videos as a full-time YouTuber. It was my dream to travel the world and fish, and, well, my dreams have changed, and that's okay. I got married and had kids, and the desire to travel has faded now. I just want to be at home with my family, so I quit. I sold the house that had the pretty yard and the pool, and moved to this house in the Florida jungle with my family. My goal is to make this a magical property for my family while still keeping it wild. So let's start this next chapter. Welcome to the property. It's extremely windy out today, so I threw on a lav mic to walk around and talk to you guys and kind of show this beautiful, beautiful place. It's going to be a lot of work with the yard, the garage, the external office, things of that nature. I think it's going to be an extremely, extremely rewarding place once it all comes together, and it's already beautiful and has just an unbelievable special quality to it. And I can't wait to continue to watch how it transforms with just love and care, you know? So let's go look. The entire property is just covered with giant mature trees, which is one of the reasons my wife and I were so drawn to this place. You know, behind me, that is just an enormous banyan tree, and there's actually two of them on the property. And then even further behind that is just a Bishophia or a bishop wood, just this giant hardwood that is unbelievably beautiful. And the property has hundreds of palm trees, a couple of pine trees, and a few just enormous mature oaks, which I am super excited about. I'm really not sure what the people who lived here originally and built the house did or were interested in, but it's so incredible the amount of trees that are on this property in different vegetation, from just these banyan trees, bishop woods, birds of paradise, palm trees, to behind me is a giant grove of bamboo. And around the property is just so many different plants that you would have in your house that are valuable house plants, like different varieties of pothos, snake plants, wild coffee, things like that are just littered everywhere across the property. If not, there's like thousands upon thousands of dollars worth of basically house plants growing naturally in the yard, where each tree is covered in these enormous giant lily pad like pothos leaves that are beautiful. The driveway actually splits in multiple directions, with one path leading to this detached building over here, which is actually a 1-1 apartment essentially. It's totally usable, but definitely needs a little bit of love and a little bit of work. There's mold in the showers. The bathroom's super just outdated, but it's workable for now for an office, but we're gonna put some work in on that thing. Hidden back here behind all these bushes is actually the main house. And the main house has been renovated and it's beautiful inside. But my wife and I have already started to make it our own and paint. And it's crazy when you get into the right place, that sense of belonging that you feel. You know, this is actually the third house that I've lived in over the past 8 years. And the past two we lived in for 3 years, and then another one for almost 4.5, I guess. And it's just incredible how little we did to those houses, because I think in our heart or in the back of my mind, like, knew that this wasn't going to be our forever home. And so we weren't, you know, making it our own. We weren't painting it the colors that we wanted. We weren't doing the things that we wanted. I didn't ever build that pond that I always dreamed of having, because I didn't want to put a hole in the yard if someone ever wanted to buy the house and didn't want it. And now we moved here and my wife is like, we need to put a pond in ASAP. And that's going to be part of this whole thing. Almost all of this property is canopied by all of these giant trees. There's only like a few feet of grass in the entire yard, which is weird to come from, where before we lived on an 1.5 acres that was just coated in beautiful green ryegrass, and it was fun to look at. It was kind of fun for the kids to play at, but it didn't really have that much character. And what's fun is I don't have to cut any grass now, really, and there's just like endless things to explore and look at, and just so much more conducive to wildlife at a place like this. The dogs might not help the wildlife, but all the plant life does. The house is actually 2 stories, which this is the first 2-story house I've ever lived in. First house I've ever lived in has stairs. So it's kind of a funny thing to get used to, just living a whole life, never going up and down stairs. But it's beautiful on the inside. Right now it's kind of a mess of just moving, but we downsized square footage in moving into this house, but it feels more homey, more comfortable, and just like couldn't be happier with the decision, you know? Right in front of the garage here, we actually have what I think might be the tallest tree in the entire property, or one of them. And it's a Norfolk Island pine, I believe. And it is being choked out by these vines. And that's kind of one of the hard parts that I'm gonna have to manage, is there's vines and pothos just everywhere on this property, and it's extremely beautiful, but to a certain extent, they're killing a lot of these trees or choking them out. And so I want to see this giant Norfolk pine flourish and grow, and there is no growth at all in the first 20 feet of it because it's completely choked out. And so there's quite a few trees where we're gonna have to do some vine removal, which will be tough because the vines are beautiful, but they're definitely suffocating a lot of the trees here. The garage is probably single-handedly what I'm most and least looking forward to at the exact same time. It is an enormous building, can fit multiple cars, and it's sectioned off in a weird way where clearly this side behind me with the door was the original garage, and then they built a 2-door garage attached to it. So inside of the building, there is a garage door as well that opens up into that section here, and it's super strange. But it is an absolute disaster in there. I mean, there's wiring hanging from the ceilings. Everything is completely unfinished. There's water damage in some of the areas at the base. There's termite damage down below. It is a hot mess, but is in a position where it can be changed to literally anything. And we have some really huge plans for that, of like making a completely enclosed gym on one side and turning the other into a awesome workshop and woodworking area. And it is rough, but has a ton of potential. Right now, it is a huge mess because we still have all of our moving boxes in here. My wife and I moved entirely by ourselves with the help of my parents who are in their 60s. And I mean, we packed, unpacked, moved every single box, and it was a lot of work, and we're still going through the majority of it right now. All of the walls are completely unfinished. There's light fixtures just up in the rafters, but inside you can see how expansive this whole entire area is within the sea of boxes here. This is one of the more bizarre things I've ever seen, that it has a garage door with inside of the garage. So this was probably the original section, and they added all of this to it. But we're probably going to take this down and close this in and make this section a gym, while this whole entire area will be a garage, a wood shop, whatever we want to build, whatever we want to create. But right here, you can see it's a bit of a hot mess. Electrically, light fixtures hanging from the ceilings, wires dangling in the rafters. Everything is completely unfinished. And a bit of a nightmare. Like I said, the garage is a nightmare, but it has the most potential. I feel like almost anything in this property, if we could make this into a one-of-one, unbelievably unique space. Through this gate here is the backyard, essentially. And multiple of my chickens are out right now. Doing better. We've now moved on to essentially what is the backyard. This is where my chicken coop is. This is gonna be its own separate video. Actually, one of the first things that I had to do when we moved here was build a coop, because we had to transport all of our chickens from our old house and just catch them out of the coop and bring them to here with nothing. And the first 2 or 3 days we lived here, I just spent every single day building a chicken coop out because they're living in my garage, absolutely destroying it. Instead of creating like a big run and having our chickens closed in, we actually let them free roam from sun up till sundown. And my dad and I fenced in this entire paddock back here basically as their own space. It's a huge area for the chickens, and I found with chickens, if you treat them well, they treat you well, and they lay a lot of eggs. We get 8 almost every single day since the second they started laying, and it's been awesome. But there's plenty of room back here for future livestock, things like goats, ducks, turkeys. The back section of the yard is basically a giant oak hammock. And I don't know what it is, man, I just have an obsession with big giant oak trees like this. And you just think about how long they take to grow and get this big. And we have, I don't know, probably close to 10 big oak trees on this property, and it's just unbelievably beautiful. And one of the first nights that we're here, it's kind of the only problem with these chickens, one of the first nights we were here, I saw just an enormous barred owl sitting in one of these trees hooting. And as much as I don't want my chickens to get eaten and do everything we can to stop it, you know, the owls, this is where they live, man. When it comes to actual yard work, this is probably the area that's gonna have the most to be done. There's a ton of invasives that I want to pull out. Obviously a lot of stuff like the bishop woods, banyians, bamboo, that's all invasive, but I want to keep those. I'm talking about Brazilian peppers and small acacia trees. Those are the things that I want to get rid of because they're like a virus on your property. They do not stop growing. But this is the one area where I'm really not sure what I want to do. It could be potentially really cool for another big wildlife pond back here because there's so much forage from the oak trees, and there's wild coffee, and there's so many insects and different things for chickens or wildlife in general to forage on back here underneath this giant canopy. And right through here is basically our one section of grass in this entire yard. But this is actually where the septic drain field is, so it's not like we can do a ton back here, but I thought about this would be a great place for either a garden or planting a bunch of wildflowers, something that's pretty non-invasive and not going to grow big giant roots down below, but an area that has a lot of sun, or some type of area where this would be just so great for wildlife, a little open area for things like rabbits to come graze, or different animals, different birds. You know, this whole property basically sits in this hammock of all of these giant mature trees around everywhere. And it's incredible what it has done for just like the enjoyment, but also the temperature. Our neighbors who are new to us came over and were saying hi, and they were like, it is unbelievable. It is like 5 or 6 degrees colder in your yard than it is in ours next door. And it's just because all of this shade creates such a cool environment, not only just literally cool, but like unique and interesting for wildlife to thrive, us to enjoy. It's beautiful, and it just has so much potential to create this kind of oasis for my family, but also wildlife. I'm just so excited for what this place is gonna bring. Man, this is gonna be really, really cool. Right up here in the front might be one of the areas I am most excited about, because we are planning to create just an enormous pond right here, or at least big for the area. Something that wraps around this giant Boshovia tree right here and bird of paradise, and kind of flows like a river through, and has different pooling areas for fish to live in, but also for birds to drink out of. Raccoons, squirrels, rabbits have different low areas where the wildlife can come and utilize the pond. The house is still in total utter chaos from moving in, and kids' toys scattered across the ground, boxes, and just trying to make this place a home. But The inside is beautiful, and it's just little touches that are going to bring the whole thing together, but we have a lot of really great plans for in there as well. But it's incredible because it just has so many giant windows that lets in a ton of light into the house, but also just lets you always see almost from every angle out into the jungle. And it's just this beautiful balance of you have so much wildlife outside, but also I'm gonna fill the interior of the house with plants because it lets all this beautiful light in as well. And I also already have all the plants I could basically ever want growing in the yard that I can just take cuttings from and begin growing myself. At the end of all of this, my goal is really to reach this point of harmony, not to be like way too cheesy, but harmony of like us living here, sustainability of being able to grow different foods from vegetables, fruit, to possibly maybe it's raising food in the future, to having ponds for the wildlife to thrive and kind of create an ecosystem in here of this really unique experience that Florida is already very subtropical, and now we have all of this tropical jungle-like foliage to use here and be able to create something really, really special. Find this balance of like homesteading, but also making an ecological area for wildlife to thrive and fostering a magical place for my family to live, and just make this a totally unique one-of-one place to raise a family and for my kids to grow up. And I'm really, really excited for what's going to unfold here. So I hope you guys follow along and enjoy the channel, because it's going to be a range of home projects to also trying to learn new things. I eventually, as weird as it is, I want to build out that entire wood shop, but I also want to make a forge. I want to make an entire brewery setup for creating beer, maybe beekeeping. I want to get goats and ducks, and also create a beautiful pond that the wildlife can enjoy, and just make something that is totally my own and totally unique. And I hope you guys follow along with the journey. I'm gonna work on getting another video out very, very soon, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this first initial little house tour. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the new channel as we start this new journey. I appreciate you guys.